Have you ever felt that cruel paradox, my friend, of finding someone whose presence shakes your entire being, yet with whom you simply cannot remain? Why, you might wonder, does life, or perhaps the universe itself, conspire to place in our path a person who ignites a flame so intense it threatens to consume us, but leaves us stranded, aching, forbidden to draw closer? You may believe it is misfortune, or some cosmic joke. You may curse your fate, thinking, why would I meet them at all if I cannot have them? And I understand that question, for it emerges from the deepest caverns of the human psyche where desire roars and refuses to be silenced. But I must tell you this, such encounters are not random punishments, nor are they errors of destiny. They are messengers dispatched from your own unconscious, bearing secrets you have long tried to bury. You see, your suffering is not merely heartbreak, it is the signal flare of your own psyche calling you to look inward. This person, this impossible love, is not just flesh and bone. They are a symbol, a projection, a mirror held up to the concealed corridors of your desires, your wounds, your forbidden dreams. When you ask why the universe sends you someone you cannot be with, you are in truth asking, why am I drawn to what I must not have? Let us pause and examine the torment, for it is real, visceral. You may find yourself obsessed, scanning your phone for their message, rehearsing conversations that will never happen, feeling your stomach twist at the sound of their name. You may dream of them with a vividness so cruel that waking becomes a punishment, and you may be tempted to declare your heart's truth, to abandon caution and propriety, to fling yourself into the fire regardless of the consequences. But I beg you, before you surrender to the flames, sit with me here, in the privacy of this analytic chamber. Let us treat this agony not as a flaw in your character, nor as an unfortunate quirk of destiny, but as a clue. For behind every forbidden attraction lies a hidden story, a story written in the ink of childhood, of family, of forgotten injuries, and unconscious yearnings. Do you remember, perhaps faintly, the first time you learned that love can hurt, that the very person whose affection you crave can also deny you, wound you, leave you starving for closeness? Many do not recall this consciously, but the child within you remembers. The child learned that to desire is dangerous, that love can vanish without explanation, that being close means being vulnerable, exposed, at risk of losing everything. Thus, the psyche erects defenses. It learns to disguise longing under masks of disinterest, or it seeks out love where it is impossible, because there, paradoxically, it feels safer. If the love cannot be consummated, then it cannot betray you. If you cannot have them, they cannot abandon you, because they were never truly yours to lose. This, my friend, is the silent bargain struck by your unconscious. You choose the unattainable because it spares you the terror of true intimacy. It is a cunning strategy, painful, yes, but cunning, for it allows you to remain forever suspended in longing, without ever confronting the deeper wounds that intimacy might reopen. When I tell you that the universe has sent you someone you cannot be with, I must add a correction. It is not the universe, it is you. It is your own unconscious mind that has orchestrated this encounter. You may resist that idea, believing that you are simply unlucky or cursed by fate. Yet again and again, I have seen how the unconscious pulls the strings. Consider how often you find yourself attracted to a similar type of person, emotionally unavailable, already committed, distant, or somehow forbidden. Each time you tell yourself it is coincidence, but coincidence, in matters of the psyche, is exceedingly rare. There is a pattern at play. Let me share the story of Clara, a woman who came to me tormented by her feelings for a man who was married. She insisted their connection was fated, spiritual, undeniable, and indeed, the passion between them burned brightly but remained forbidden. Each time he pulled away, she collapsed into despair, certain that life was punishing her. But as we probed the roots of her attraction, an older truth emerged. In childhood, Clara's father was a distant man, affectionate only in rare, fleeting moments. She learned to associate love with scarcity, with having to wait and yearn and perform for crumbs of affection. In loving this unavailable man, she was reenacting the original wound, trying to rewrite the ending. This is what we do, endlessly. We seek out partners who echo the dynamics of our earliest bonds, even if those bonds were bruising. We chase the same rejection, hoping this time we will be chosen, this time we will be enough. Yet each repetition only deepens the groove of suffering. You might think, but my feelings are real. I love this person. Of course you do. I would never deny the authenticity of your emotions. The suffering is genuine, the longing profound, but the object of your desire may not be who you imagine them to be. They are partly real, yes, but partly a canvas upon which your unconscious paints the colors of old pain, old hunger, old hope. Why does it feel so impossible to let go? Because to let go of this person would be to surrender the hope that, finally, someone will heal the wound left open since childhood. It would mean accepting that the past cannot be rewritten through another's love, and that acceptance can feel like death. Say you remain caught in the tension, loving from afar, imagining secret lives together, fearing that if you'd truly moved on, you would be left with nothing but emptiness. Let me tell you this, your suffering is not meaningless. It is a sign that something within you demands to be seen. The impossible relationship is not a punishment, it is an invitation to know yourself more deeply. You are not doomed to desire only what you cannot have, but to break the pattern, you must dare to look beneath the surface of your longing. You must ask not only, why do I love them, but also, what old wound do they help me keep alive, and what terror would arise if love were actually safe and mutual. This is not easy work. It requires honesty and courage. It requires mourning the fantasy that someone else will rescue you from your past. And it requires yourself, and even for those who cannot give you what you want. Yet I promise you, there is freedom on the other side of this analysis. For when you see the truth of why you choose what you choose, you gain the power to choose differently. You gain the power to love, not from a place of desperation or scarcity, but from wholeness. So the next time you ask, why has the universe sent me someone I cannot be with? Remember that the true answer lies not in the stars, but in your own psyche. And if you are willing, I shall help you uncover it. Tell me, are you ready to go deeper, to turn this pain into revelation, to understand the hidden story your impossible love is trying to tell? I hear your silent answer, even before you speak it. You are ready, or at least curious enough, not to look away. That is the beginning of every analysis, the willingness to look where it hurts. Perhaps you are wondering if this entire torment is nothing but a fabrication of your own mind. Could it be, you ask, that I invented this love, that I created it simply to suffer? And I shall tell you, it is both true and untrue. You did not invent the person who haunts your thoughts, nor the chemistry that erupts when your eyes meet, but you did invest them with meaning far beyond their own reality. Your psyche, my friend, is like an artist of exquisite cunning. It takes the raw clay of experience and molds it into a sculpture charged with symbols, hidden references, and secret messages. The person you cannot have becomes a vessel into which your unconscious pours every unsatisfied longing, every buried wish, every wound that still bleeds beneath the surface of your calm existence. That is why the bond feels so intense, so inevitable, as though the stars themselves conspired to write your names together in the sky. It is not merely physical attraction, though that plays its part. It is a psychic magnetism rooted in the unfinished business of your past. The universe has not sent you this person as a punishment. Rather, your own unconscious has sent them to awaken you, to remind you of what remains unresolved. I see in you the same turmoil I have witnessed in countless souls who have crossed my threshold. Some seek the unattainable because they believe only the impossible is worthy of their love. Others cling to impossible love to avoid the terror of intimacy with someone who could truly love them back. Consider this. Real intimacy demands that we reveal ourselves in all our fragility and contradiction. It demands we admit our needs, our doubts, our dark desires. It requires that we risk rejection, not for who we pretend to be, but for who we truly are. For many, that risk is unbearable. The heart, fearing annihilation, instead chooses the safe prison of unrequited love, so the mind finds someone out of reach, someone who is married, who lives across oceans, who belongs to a different world, and it declares this person the one true love. It is a perfect trap, because it offers the sweet intoxication of desire without the terrifying vulnerability of real connection. But do not judge yourself harshly for this pattern. It is not foolishness, nor weakness. It is the psyche's strategy. For survival, it is your way of managing the ancient conflict between your deepest longings and your deepest fears. And there is another layer still. The forbidden love often contains a seed of transgression, a taste of the forbidden that thrills the unconscious. The very impossibility becomes a source of erotic energy. The barriers, the secrecy, the stolen glances, all these are fuel for the fires of the ID. that primal part of you which knows only desire and cares nothing for consequence. Yet alongside this tempest roars the superego, whispering moral injunctions, guilt, shame. This is wrong, it insists, you must not feel this way. And caught between these two forces, your ego struggles to maintain sanity. This is why love that cannot be fulfilled becomes so consuming. It is not only about the other person. It is a theater in which the entire drama of your psyche plays out, the ID demanding satisfaction, the superego imposing punishment, the ego striving desperately to mediate between the two. Sometimes, the impossibility itself is the most vital part of the attraction, for if the love were possible, it might lose its allure. The fantasy would collapse under the weight of mundane reality. Do you remember your dreams, those visions that visit you in the silent hours of the night? They too speak in riddles, filled with people you know and people you have never met, tangled in scenarios that defy logic. In your dreams, the impossible becomes real, the forbidden permitted. A married lover is suddenly free. A silent desire finds voice. Your unconscious rehearses scenes your conscious mind dares not. Imagine in daylight. Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious, and they are filled with precisely the same figures who haunt your waking fantasies. You see, your mind has no borders. Between day and night, the same forces shape your passions, your choices, your secret terrors. Consider the patient I once treated, a man consumed by an obsessive infatuation with a woman he saw only twice in passing. He insisted that she was his destined soulmate, though he knew nothing of her life, her mind, her heart. In our work together, it became clear that the woman's face had merged in his mind with the memory of a governess from his childhood, a woman who had offered him fleeting tenderness, only to vanish without farewell. His adult desire was not truly for the stranger, but for the lost comfort of that early bond. We do not love blindly. We love with eyes wide open to the past. Though we may not realize it, our choices are not as free as we imagine. You might wonder, does this mean my feelings are invalid? No, your feelings are the most real thing about you. They are sacred. But to understand them fully, we must untangle what belongs to the present and what belongs to the past. The person you cannot have may indeed possess beauty, kindness, brilliance, but ask yourself, why them? Why now? Why this impossibility? Perhaps it is because, deep inside, you believe you do not deserve love that stays. Perhaps you fear that true closeness would expose you as unworthy. Or perhaps, like so many, you carry a hidden loyalty to pain, a secret attachment to suffering, because it feels familiar. And I tell you this with great compassion, you are not doomed to remain forever trapped in these patterns. Awareness is the first act of liberation. When you begin to see that your impossible love is the echo of old wounds, you can begin to choose differently, that you can learn that real intimacy does not destroy you, that love can be mutual, safe, and still profoundly alive, that you deserve affection that does not come wrapped in secrecy, guilt, and anguish. But this requires a brave act, to turn your gaze from the beloved and look into yourself, to ask what you are truly seeking in this impossible bond. Is it love, or is it protection from the risk of love? So many people tell me they wish to move on, yet secretly they nurture the fantasy, revisiting it like a sacred shrine, because to let go would mean facing the silence left behind, and in that silence waits grief, but also truth, and eventually, freedom. I invite you, therefore, to linger a moment longer in this space of questioning, to allow yourself to wonder not why the universe has played a cruel trick upon you, but what inner forces have summoned this particular agony into your life. I promise you, there is a path out of this labyrinth, and it begins not with forgetting the person you cannot have, but with understanding why you chose them. Shall we keep digging together? Tell me, are you willing to see what lies behind the mask of your impossible love? Your silence tells me you are still here, and that, my friend, is an act of courage in itself. For many, the temptation to flee from such truths is overwhelming, but you remain willing to peer into the depths. So let us continue. Perhaps you imagine that your longing for the unattainable is simply a matter of unfortunate timing. You might say, if only we had met earlier, if only circumstances were different, but the mind weaves these if onlys to protect you from a deeper realization, that the impossibility itself is precisely what sustains your passion. When I speak of impossibility, I do not refer solely to external barriers, marriage, distance, religion, or society's disapproval. No, The true impossibility often lies within. It is an inner command, an unconscious decree that whispers, "You may desire, but you must not possess." Why? Because possession demands presence, and presence demands vulnerability. To truly love is to drop your defenses, to reveal your trembling, imperfect self. For many, that exposure is more terrifying than any loneliness. I once treated a woman who spent 15 years pining for a man who remained, stubbornly, just out of reach. She claimed they were soulmates, separated by fate and duty. Yet every time he hinted at leaving his commitments to be with her, she found a reason to pull away. She wept over his unavailability, but in truth, it was she who maintained the distance. For her, to bring love into the daylight, to make it ordinary and real, was to risk annihilation. We must speak honestly. There is a certain intoxication in loving what we cannot have. The yearning sharpens the senses. The secrecy fuels a sense of urgency, of specialness. You tell yourself this love is extraordinary, because it is forbidden. You believe that if it were allowed, it would lose its magic. And so you remain enthralled, caught between hope and despair. But what if I told you that true love does not require obstacles to remain vivid? That love need not be drenched in anguish to feel profound. The mind, my friend, is ingenious at preserving its illusions. The impossible love becomes an endless rehearsal stage upon which you play out fantasies of rescue, triumph, and ultimate union. Yet these fantasies often conceal a deeper terror, that if love were actually possible, you might discover it cannot fill the void you carry inside. I know this thought is bitter, but it is the threshold of freedom. For much of your life, you have measured your worth by how desperately you long for someone else. Your mind has equated suffering with depth, heartbreak with proof of passion. The deeper the ache, the more convinced you are that this must be love. But hear me, pain is not the sole measure of love's truth. Sometimes pain merely testifies to an old wound that has never healed. Let us speak now of childhood, for it is there that the roots of this pattern often lie hidden. Imagine a child who loves a parent fiercely, only to discover that this parent is absent, cold, distracted, or unavailable. The child cannot simply stop loving. Instead, the child learns to wait, to hope, to perform small miracles of behavior in order to win attention. And when those efforts fail, the child internalizes a cruel lesson, that love is something earned through suffering. Thus begins the unconscious conviction that love must involve longing, distance, and sacrifice, that real love is always on the horizon, never fully here. When this child grows into an adult, they carry within them the blueprint of these early bonds. They seek out partners who remain slightly out of reach, or they become fascinated by those who are already claimed by others. It is not that they wish to destroy lives. It is that their unconscious believes this is how love works. The person you cannot have may feel like a soulmate, but perhaps they are, more truthfully, a mirror reflecting the very first person who withheld love from you. And so, you find yourself entranced by those who echo the same emotional texture, those who provide just enough warmth to keep your hope alive, but never enough to let you feel truly secure. It is not by chance that so many of your fantasies revolve around the idea that one day this person will choose you above all else, that one day your devotion will be rewarded, your suffering vindicated. This fantasy is the child's wish in disguise, the wish to finally be seen and chosen completely. But let us ask the forbidden question. What would happen if they did choose you? Would you be able to stay, to trust, to receive love without suspicion? Or would you find some new obstacle, some new reason why it cannot work? Often, those who crave impossible love secretly fear what would happen if the object of their desire was suddenly available. For then, the fantasy would end and reality would begin. And reality is far messier than any dream. In reality, your lover might have flaws you did not anticipate. They might bore you, disappoint you, or stir up old insecurities. The safety of distance vanishes, and with it, the illusion of perfection. To pursue real love means stepping into this imperfection. It means risking rejection, not because the beloved is unavailable, but because you stand before them unmasked, asking to be loved as you are. I know this sounds terrifying, and yet, it is also the only path toward genuine connection. So I ask you, are you willing to consider that the person you cannot have may not be your destined soulmate, but rather the perfect stage upon which your unconscious enacts its ancient drama? This does not mean you must hate them or force yourself to forget them. but it does mean you might release the idea that they hold the sole key to your salvation. No one person can rescue you from the work you must do within. Even if they arrived at your door tomorrow, free and willing, you would still face the same truth, that love cannot heal wounds you refuse to examine. Your longing is real, but it is not prophecy. It is memory trying to finish an old story. The healing comes when you understand this, and when you grant yourself permission to love without requiring suffering as proof. If you can see this, truly see it, you will begin to sense a new possibility, that love can be mutual, present, and sane. That love does not have to hurt to be real. Are you ready to imagine a love that is not out of reach? A love that sees you, touches you, and stays? If so, we shall go deeper still, for there is more to uncover, and I will walk beside you as we trace these hidden threads. I sense that you are weary, yet unwilling to turn back. That is good. Fatigue often signals that we are close to something important. It is the unconscious's last defense before a revelation. So let us press on together, gently but relentlessly. I know it might seem cruel when I say your impossible love is not merely about the other person, but as a cipher, a hieroglyph carved by your unconscious. For you feel your devotion burning with such vivid flame that to reduce it to a psychological mechanism seems to diminish its sanctity. But listen closely. I am not mocking your love. I am trying to honor it by seeking its true meaning. For what could be more dignified than to discover why your heart insists on bleeding for someone you cannot touch? You see, the mind is not governed solely by reason. Within you dwell forces older and more potent than any logic. These forces do not care for social rules, nor for the calendar, nor for whether a person is married or lives on the other side of the earth. The ID knows only the hunger of its desires. Yet you are not simply a creature of instinct. You possess a superego, that stern internal judge, shaped by your parents, by religion, by culture. It whispers shame into your ear. It declares certain feelings wrong, even if they bloom from innocent longing. And caught between these two, the ID raging for satisfaction and the superego, enforcing guilt, your ego must survive. It navigates impossible terrain, striving to maintain your sense of identity and sanity. So when you love someone forbidden, the conflict is not only external, it is an inner civil war. Part of you wants to run toward them, to throw caution to the wind, to seize the joy you believe destiny has promised. Another part of you recoils in terror, brandishing moral prohibitions and the fear of consequences. No wonder your body shakes. No wonder you cannot sleep. This is not a small matter. This is the soul in flames. And yet, do you know what I have seen again and again in my consulting room? People will suffer almost anything rather than face the silent void of their own emptiness. For some, longing is less frightening than peace. There is a strange comfort in the ache of impossible love. It gives shape and purpose to your days. It allows you to say, I cannot move forward because of them. It spares you the risk of trying and perhaps failing to build something real. And yet, all the while, you dream of a secret message arriving, declaring that all barriers have fallen away. You cling to that vision because, deep inside, you are convinced that this love is the only thing strong enough to redeem you. Let me tell you a secret. No human being can redeem you. Redemption is an inner act, and once you begin to redeem yourself, you may discover that the person you thought you could not live without is no longer essential. That does not mean you will cease to love, but your love will transform. It will lose its feverish, desperate edge. It will become quiet, steady, grounded. It will seek mutuality rather than torment. I can almost hear you protest, but I cannot choose whom I love. And indeed, desire is not a matter of conscious choice. You do not decide to fall in love with a particular face, voice, or laugh. It happens beneath the surface, in the dark waters of the unconscious. But you can choose what you do with your desire. The first step is to observe yourself without judgment. Ask, what is it about this person that fascinates me? Is it their confidence, their warmth, their mystery? Or is it, perhaps, their unavailability itself? For sometimes, unavailability is the very quality that makes someone luminous in our eyes. It allows us to pour into them every fantasy we carry. They become perfect precisely because they remain just out of reach. They never contradict the story we tell ourselves. But should they become available, reality intrudes. The fantasy shatters. They become human, with flaws and needs of their own. and so many cling to the impossible because they fear the collapse of that shimmering illusion. Let me share with you a story of a man named Victor who, for a decade, was consumed by love for a woman married to his colleague. He swore that she was his twin flame. In her presence, he felt alive. Without her, he felt hollow. When finally, through a series of tragic events, she became free, Victor believed destiny had delivered his reward. They began a relationship. Within months, he found himself suffocating under the reality of her grief, her daily habits, her vulnerabilities. The goddess became mortal, and he recoiled. He realized, painfully, that what he loved most was the longing itself, the hope, the fantasy, the ache that gave shape to his emptiness. I do not tell you this to dismiss love as an illusion. Rather, I wish to show you that much of what we call love is often longing for something else entirely, a wish to repair the past, to prove oneself worthy, to transform childhood wounds into triumph. Until you see this, you will remain prisoner to the same pattern, drawn again and again to what you cannot possess. But let us not stop at analysis alone. I want you to imagine a different possibility. Imagine loving someone who is fully present. Imagine a love that does not burn you alive, but warms you steadily. A love in which you can breathe. Does this sound dull to you? That is the protest of your unconscious, which has learned to equate intensity with passion. But passion need not devour you to be real. Think of the ocean. Sometimes it crashes in storms, but beneath the surface, the tides move with silent, irresistible power. Such is true love, less spectacle, more substance. So I ask you, what would it mean to you to love someone who stays? Someone who knows your secrets and remains? Does that thought fill you with hope or terror? Your answer to that question is the key to your freedom, for it reveals whether you are ready to risk intimacy or whether you remain loyal to longing because it feels safer than love fulfilled. And know this, there is no shame in recognizing you are not yet ready. Awareness alone begins to loosen the chains of repetition. I believe you are stronger than you know, for you are here, listening, questioning. That is the sign of a mind on the cusp of transformation. Will you continue this journey with me? Shall we probe further into the depths of your heart to uncover the final truths hidden there? I see a flicker in your eyes, a mixture of fear and anticipation. That, my friend, is the precise place where transformation begins. Between dread and curiosity, between the comfort of your old wounds and the trembling possibility of something new. Let us go there together, gently but without illusion. Perhaps by now you are thinking, if all of this is true, then have I wasted my life, loving someone I cannot have? And I must tell you, no, you have not wasted your life. Your longing was not in vain. It has been a map, a coded message, a compass pointing you back to yourself. You see, your impossible love has been your unconscious's way of revealing where you are still divided inside. It has shown you the places where your wounds remain unhealed, where your self-worth is fragile, where the child within you still cries for the love it once lost. Without this impossible love, you might have continued in comfortable numbness. It has torn away your distractions and forced you to ask the hardest questions. Why do I love whom I love? What am I truly seeking? Can I bear to be seen, or must I remain hidden behind fantasy? In that sense, the one you cannot have has been your analyst, your teacher, your mirror. They have unknowingly performed the same role as I do, here provoking the emergence of truths buried beneath repression. But now you have a choice. Will you remain enthralled by the same story, circling it like a ritual, or will you write a new chapter? It is no small task, for when you let go of the fantasy, you do not merely let go of the person, you also let go of the illusion that someone else can complete you. This is why so many cling to impossible love, even when it hurts, because letting go feels like death. It is the death of the hope that the past can be undone, that the parent who failed you will somehow return, disguised in another's arms, to grant you absolution. But I promise you, beyond that small death lies rebirth. There is a freedom in realizing that love is not meant to rescue you, that it is not your partner's duty to fill the voids left by your childhood, that your value does not depend on being chosen by someone who cannot stay. Imagine, instead, that your worth is inherent, that love is not a reward for suffering, but a gift freely given and freely received. You have been taught that love must be dramatic to be real, that it must involve obstacles, sacrifices, forbidden glances, secret yearnings. But love, in its truest form, is not a theatrical performance. It is quiet presence. It is the courage to show your flaws and still be embraced. It is laughter shared over mundane details, arguments resolved without fear of abandonment, moments of silence that feel safe rather than suffocating. I have seen patients break these patterns and find such love. I have witnessed those who once believed themselves cursed to a lifetime of impossible desires slowly open their hearts to partners who stay, and when they do, they often weep, not because the new love is dull but because they realize how much suffering they carried unnecessarily, because they see how long they confused chaos with passion, because they finally taste a love that heals rather than wounds. My friend, I wish that for you, but I will not deceive you. It takes work. To find a love that stays, you must first stay with yourself. You must become willing to sit with discomfort, to feel loneliness without rushing to fill it with fantasy. You must dare to question the old story that says, I only matter if I am chosen by someone who does not want me. And here is the most radical truth I can offer you. You are already enough. You do not need to win love by proving your worth through suffering. The child within you is still waiting for a parent who will come and say, you are seen, you are loved, you are safe. But you, the adult you have become, can now be that parent to yourself. When you learn to soothe your own wounds, you become less susceptible to the allure of impossible love, because you no longer seek in others what you have finally found within. Does this mean you will never feel longing again? Of course not. Desire is the essence of being human. You will always feel the pull of beauty, mystery, connection, but you will know the difference between healthy desire and a compulsion to suffer, and in that knowledge lies your freedom. Perhaps, one day, you will look back upon this person you cannot have and feel gratitude, not because they became yours but because they led you here, to this deeper understanding of yourself. You may even find yourself wishing them well, without bitterness, without need, because you will know that your path is your own, and that you no longer have to bleed for love. So I ask you, as we prepare to leave this analytic chamber, can you honor your impossible love for the lessons it offered and release it, if it no longer serves your growth? Can you imagine a life where love feels safe rather than forbidden? Can you dare to believe that you deserve joy without sacrifice? I do not expect you to answer all these questions today. Analysis is not a single moment of revelation, but a series of gentle unveilings. But I see in your eyes a spark of recognition, and that is enough to begin. Before you go, let me offer this final thought. The universe does not send you someone you cannot have to torture you. Your unconscious creates these encounters to guide you home to yourself. Every person who crosses your path, even those who break your heart, carries a fragment of your own story. Your task is not to possess them, but to decipher the message they bring. And when you do, you will find that the true love you have sought outside has been waiting within you all along. You deserve a love that stays. You deserve a love that is real. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on this journey. If these words have touched you, if they have opened new questions or eased old pains, I invite you to share your thoughts below, as one soul reaching out to another. May you walk forward lighter, freer, and closer to the truth of who you are. Until we meet again, I remain as ever, devoted to uncovering the hidden truths that shape our lives. Sigmund Freud.